Europe is facing an economic shift far larger than most people realise. 20 years ago, the European Union generated a quarter of the world's economy. Today, it produces just 14%, and while the US economy grew by 85% over the last 2 decades, Europe grew by only 30%. That gap isn't narrowing, it's accelerating. Across the continent, the warning signs are everywhere. Italy's government debt has climbed above 140% of GDP. France is approaching 115% and continues adding around 200 billion euros in new borrowing every year. Even Germany, once known for strict fiscal discipline, has suspended its own debt rules just to prevent its economy from sinking further. But debt is only the surface-level problem. Europe's housing markets are breaking. In Amsterdam, prices rose nearly 90% in a decade. In Lisbon, they surged more than 250%. In Dublin, rents doubled. And in Paris, a 20 square metre studio, the size of a parking space, can cost more than 1,200 euros a month. And that is without utilities. Yet wages haven't kept up. In the past decade, real wages in countries like Italy and Spain increased by less than 3%, while housing costs jumped 30 to 80%. Even in wealthier nations like Germany and France, households now spend a record share of their income on rent, energy, and food. Europe became richer on paper, but poorer in reality. And here's the contradiction. Europe still ranks among the wealthiest regions on Earth, yet millions of Europeans feel poorer every year. They work more, pay more, and receive less. So the question becomes, if Europe is rich, why is life becoming so difficult for so many people? Most observers point to recent shocks: the pandemic, Russia's invasion of Ukraine, inflation, or migration. But these are not the root causes. They are accelerators. The deeper problems have been building quietly for decades, and only now are they becoming impossible to ignore. Before we uncover the structural issue behind all of this, we need to zoom out. While the EU grew by just 0.5% last year, the United States grew 5 times faster. American stock markets added $7 trillion in value, more than the entire French economy, and among the world's 10 most valuable companies. The United States has 7, while Europe has none. Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Google, Meta, Tesla, and Nvidia. All American companies are worth more than every German company combined. This isn't just about bragging rights. It means Europe is missing out on the industries that now define global power. Artificial intelligence, advanced computing, biotech, and next-generation energy technologies. The world's economic engine has shifted toward high-value innovation, while Europe remains anchored to slow-growing sectors such as manufacturing, transportation, and traditional services. And this leads to a deeper contradiction. Europe needs more growth than ever, yet the very industries capable of providing it are leaving. To understand how this looks on the ground, we need to zoom in further into European cities where the crisis is most visible. In Berlin, waiting lists for affordable housing now stretch for years. In Barcelona, entire districts have been consumed by short-term rentals. In Dublin, young professionals in full-time jobs still live with their parents because rent consumes half their income. In Milan, the average apartment now costs more than 5,000 euros per square metre. In Portugal, locals are being priced out of homes they've lived in for generations. And in the Netherlands, homelessness has reached record highs, the highest since measurements began. These aren't anomalies. This is a continent-wide shift where wages remain flat, but costs skyrocket. And if current trends continue, Europe will struggle not just to grow, but to maintain the living standards it once took for granted. So what is the real cause? To answer that, we need to look beyond recent crises and return to the long-term structural trends shaping Europe's economy. There are 3 of them. The first is demographics. Europe is aging faster than almost any region on Earth. Italy, Greece, and Portugal all have fertility rates around 1.2 or 1.3, while Spain sits at 1.12 and Poland at 1.16, far below the replacement level of 2.1. Without migration, many European countries would already be shrinking. An aging population means fewer workers, lower productivity, higher pension costs, and a shrinking tax base. It also undermines the foundation of economic growth. By 2050, Europe will lose the equivalent of the entire population of Germany in working-age adults. For every 10 retirees today, Europe has 29 working-age people supporting them. By 2050, that number drops to 16. An economy cannot grow if the engine, its workforce, is disappearing this quickly. The second structural trend is energy. For decades, Europe built its economy on cheap Russian gas and globalized supply chains. This worked in stable times. But when Russian gas supplies collapsed by 80%, Europe's energy system broke overnight. Electricity prices doubled, gas prices tripled. Heavy industries suffered immediate losses. Chemical companies shut down plants. Steel manufacturers reduced production. Aluminum smelters closed entirely. Energy became a competitive disadvantage, a massive one, and the world doesn't wait for Europe to adjust. The third trend is political fragmentation. Europe is a union of 27 countries, dozens of political parties, and constant elections. Governments rise and fall quickly, coalitions shift, policies reverse. Long-term reforms, the kind needed to deal with demographics, energy, industry, or competitiveness, become nearly impossible. The result is a system optimized for stability in the past, but not adaptability in the future. For years, these underlying weaknesses were masked by stable growth and cheap money, but then came a series of shocks that exposed everything at once. When COVID hit in 2020, Europe borrowed more than €1 trillion in a single year. Debt levels exploded, supply chains broke, growth collapsed. German industrial output fell 5% in 1 year. Food inflation reached 20 to 30% in some countries, and migration surged to its highest level since 2015, adding pressure to housing markets already stretched thin. These shocks didn't cause Europe's structural problems, they revealed them. Europe is now trapped in several self-reinforcing loops that make recovery extremely difficult. The first loop is economic. Slow growth leads to higher debt leads to higher taxes reduce private investment, and reduced investment slows growth even further. The second loop is demographic. Aging populations increase pension costs, which increases government spending, which increases debt, which reduces competitiveness, which suppresses wages, making it harder for families to have children, accelerating population decline. The third loop is industrial. High energy costs push factories abroad, reducing exports and tax revenue, lowering investment in innovation, and weakening competitiveness, which pushes even more industries abroad. And the fourth loop is political. Economic stress increases polarization. Polarization weakens governments. Weak governments avoid reforms. The lack of reform worsens economic conditions, and the cycle repeats. These loops are measurable, visible, and increasingly difficult to break. Consider the numbers. Over the past 20 years, the US economy grew 85%. Europe grew 30%. European households now pay 2 to 3 times more for electricity than Americans. Italy owes 140% of its GDP. Greece owes 160%. France is at 115%. Spain at 110%. Even Germany, once Europe's disciplined outlier, is rising towards 70%. Consider demographics. Fertility rates around 1.2 or 1.3 mean Europe is on track to lose tens of millions of workers over the next generation. Consider industry. German manufacturing output is down 15% from its peak. Its chemical sector is down 20%. Automotive exports, once the backbone of the economy, have fallen more than 12%. These numbers point in the same direction. Europe is losing competitiveness in a world moving faster than ever. The consequences are already visible. Southern Europe still struggles with youth unemployment above 20%. Italy has not regained its 2007 GDP level. Germany is losing factories to the US because American energy is cheaper and US subsidies are larger. Across the continent, people feel that life is getting harder, not easier. Public services are showing the strain. Hospitals in France and Belgium report staffing shortages that force temporary emergency room closures. Rail systems in Germany face record delays. In Spain and Portugal, rural schools are shutting down because there are not enough children to keep classrooms open. These cracks are no longer theoretical, they're part of daily life. Housing costs consume unprecedented portions of income. More than 40% of young adults in Italy and Spain still live with their parents. Homelessness is rising. Healthcare systems are strained. Infrastructure is aging. Political debates are growing more divisive, and all of this is happening as global competition intensifies. The US is investing heavily in AI, semiconductors, and green technology. China is expanding manufacturing dominance and pushing into advanced sectors. India is accelerating its growth trajectory. Meanwhile, Europe is debating fiscal rules and short-term political disputes. This raises a critical question. Can Europe adapt fast enough? The European Union remains one of the richest, safest, and most educated regions in the world. It has technological talent, world-class universities, strong institutions, and a massive internal market. But unless it confronts its demographic decline, energy disadvantage, industrial losses, and political fragmentation, the gap between Europe and the rest of the world will continue to widen. The next decade will decide Europe's economic future, and the window to act is closing. Europe is running out of time.